Hey everybody, I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and this is Drop Dead Serious. Suzanne Simpson wasn't just another missing mom. She was the mom that everybody wanted to be. She was beautiful and stylish and successful, a San Antonio real estate agent who made juggling motherhood and million-dollar listings look effortless. Her life looked perfect until the night it shattered on October 6th, 2024. That's 1 year ago this week. I'm recording this on October 8th, 2025. But a year ago, Suzanne's husband, Brad Simpson, said that Suzanne just disappeared with no note, no goodbye, no trace. Her phone went silent. Her luxury SUV was parked neatly at the home. And that same husband told police that she'd just gone for a walk. But investigators say what really happened at that house was anything but peaceful. Days after Suzanne disappeared, detectives found blood evidence and eventually DNA, Suzanne's DNA, on a power saw linked to her husband, Brad. Prosecutors say he killed his wife, dismembered her body, and then tried to cover his tracks. But here's an even more chilling part. Suzanne still hasn't been found. Brad Simpson was arrested and charged with murder in connection with her presumed death, along with weapons offenses and tampering with evidence. And that husband, Brad, is still sitting in a jail cell awaiting trial, insisting that he's innocent. He couldn't raise the $3 million in bail money. But you can imagine that this has been hell for Suzanne's family. A year later, her body still hasn't been found. And Brad is not coughing up any details in jail before his trial this February. And that leads me to another shocking turn of events in this very sad story. There's been another arrest in connection with Suzanne's murder. Another family member arrested and taken to jail. It's Suzanne's sister, Teresa. But she wasn't arrested for anything she did to Suzanne. In a moment, I'll tell you why they cuffed her and brought her in. But before I get to that, I just want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for supporting my podcast. And I know Atlas is really thankful too. He certainly gets the best naps when I'm here in the studio recording. And I also want to thank my sponsors like Incogni. Let's face it, I cover some of the darkest stuff out there, right? Crimes and just awful stuff. But let me tell you, some of the scariest stuff is actually happening quietly behind your screen. Your name, your phone number, your home address. It is all floating out there online. And not because you gave it away, because somebody else sold it. Data brokers are tracking you. They know what you buy, they know what you search for, what meds you take, even where your kids go to school. And now with AI, it's like handing a loaded weapon to a scammer. Imposter scams are on the rise, using AI to fake the voices of your friends and your family. One phone call, and suddenly you're wiring money to someone who sounds exactly like your child or your mom. It's actually pretty chilling. But here's what most people don't know. You actually have the legal right to make data brokers delete your information. That's right, you do. The problem is doing it yourself could take years. And that's why I use Incogni. Because Incogni does the dirty work for me. They go straight to these companies and they demand that they remove personal data of mine. They even offer a custom plan, unlimited. You flag a site that's exposing your info, and Incogni's privacy team goes after it directly. This isn't just peace of mind. This is power. So if privacy matters to you, and it should, and it does to me, go to incogni.com/dropdead and use the code DROPDEAD for, get this, 60% off. Yes, 60% off. Again, that's incogni.com/dropdead. Use the code DROPDEAD and start taking your data off the market today. Okay, back to Suzanne Simpson and the arrest of her sister, Teresa. A little background here. 1 year ago this week, Suzanne Simpson's neighbors saw something that they will never be able to unsee. Suzanne was screaming and fighting with her husband out in front of the house. It was late in the evening, but soon the screaming could be heard from the woods nearby, and then everything went silent. Suzanne was never seen or heard from again. which is a big deal considering the 51-year-old realtor was the mother of 4 kids. But her husband, Brad Simpson, he's been seen a lot. Oh, like a lot. First on video, buying lots of cleaning supplies and carting around strange containers in the back of his truck until suddenly those strange containers were gone too. Here's what the arrest affidavit said. That Brad Simpson spent the day after Suzanne vanished, driving to multiple locations around San Antonio with trash bags and a tarp loaded in the back of his truck. When detectives later searched his property, they say they found a burned laptop, several destroyed cell phones, and an electric handheld saw. And when police finally arrested Brad on October 9th of 2024, they noted something chilling in their report, that he showed, quote, little emotion when questioned about his missing wife. Next, Brad was seen in mugshots after being arrested for the murder of Suzanne. And understandably, a lot of this has gotten under the skin of Suzanne's family. I spoke with Suzanne's sister, Teresa, last November, when the murder investigation was still very, very fresh.
And I knew as soon as I heard that my sister had been missing for 16 hours that she was no longer with us, because we have lost my sister at Disney, for an hour or two. We've lost her in South Texas for an hour or two. But my sister has always been at home, in her bed with her husband, with her children. She has a lot of responsibilities, and she doesn't go missing for, more than an hour or two. So I knew right away that my sister was no longer with us as soon as I got the message.
Again, that's Suzanne's sister, Teresa, just as the murder investigation was getting going. But here we are a year later, and Teresa is sent to jail. She's arrested, and she's put behind bars. Earlier on my News Nation show, Banfield, shout out to News Nation, 10 o'clock Eastern, Monday to Friday, I had a chat with Sig Christensen. He's an investigative reporter at the San Antonio Express News. And I had a lot of questions about why Suzanne's sister would be arrested in this case. Here's our conversation.
She apparently has been accused of harassing a number of people in his family. And at the moment, that's a $2,000 fine, 180 days in jail, maybe both. It's a misdemeanor like a DWI here in Texas. So it's nowhere near as serious as what he's facing, but she was arrested by the folks in the Travis County area. DPS arrested her, and they took her to jail.
And as I understand, she's able to bond out. That's not a big bond to get out on those charges. But was there any point where she was in the same jail facility as Brad Simpson, the man who's accused of murdering her sister?
No, he's an hour and 20 minutes down here in San Antonio, south of Austin. So and by the way, he's been there nearly a year. I wonder how a year in county lockup has worn on him. It was a year and 2 days ago that we last saw his wife. She was seen at the Argyle, and the last anybody even heard of her was a neighbor who said he heard the screams coming from a nearby wooded area, and he apparently saw some evidence of a struggle between them. And that's the last we've seen or heard of her. After a year, no trace of her body, and yet some pretty interesting charges. The assault with a deadly weapon causing serious bodily injury. How do they know that, I wonder? And the same thing with tampering with a corpse. How do they know that?
Yeah.
It's as if they've got some evidence.
See. Exactly. I can't wait to see some of that evidence. But let me ask you a little bit about Teresa, because this was just out of the blue. It came out of nowhere. Do you know what the allegations are against her, what she is alleged to have done to harass Brad's family members?
What we've had in our newspaper, the San Antonio Express News, is that she was apparently calling and harassing the family, and they were getting phone calls late at night. numerous times in the evening, the story says. And the messages ran from several seconds to several minutes long. They were repetitive frequently. Clark accused the Simpsons of, quote, killing her sister, quote, end quote, and said, quote, they do not know who they are messing with, end quote. And she also warned, according to our story, that they would, quote, not get away with this. So obviously angry, but there's a lot of anger and grief in both of those families. I think one of Brad's brothers actually took the side of Suzanne Simpson in that case and turned against his own brother.
I remember hearing that.
There's a lot of emotion
I remember
there.
hearing that. So real quickly, only have a couple seconds left here, but I know you mentioned it's misdemeanor, but what's she facing if she's convicted of this?
Well, if she 180 days in jail, she's probably, unless she's been in jail before, I can't even imagine her getting any time. It might be a fine. I guess it may come down to the jury if a jury ends up hearing the case. And you never know what a jury is. I could see that there'd be
some sympathy. And that is where this case stands tonight. A year has passed since Suzanne Simpson vanished, a mother of 4, a real estate powerhouse, a woman who should have had decades ahead of her. Her husband still sits in a jail cell after being arrested a year ago tomorrow. Remember, I'm recording this on October 8th, 2025. He's accused of killing her, and he's insisting he's innocent. But Suzanne's body is still missing. And that is something that will be an uphill climb for prosecutors in this murder case. Tough, but not impossible. I have covered plenty of cases where there's no body. And trust me, if someone says no body, no murder, you can tell them bullshit. Because plenty of convictions have come when the body never surfaced. What's sad here is that Suzanne's children are growing up without their mom. And now without their dad too, since he's locked up and might very well be locked up for life. Her sister Teresa is still fighting to bring Suzanne's body home, but maybe fighting a little too hard. In any case, I am absolutely going to stay on top of this story because Suzanne deserves to be found and her family deserves justice. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, please do me a big solid and hit the like button. Tell me what you think about this case in the comments. I always love to hear what you think. It really directs the kind of coverage that I do. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please make sure to follow and leave me a quick review. Again, it helps me to tell the stories that matter to you. And again, thank you so much for being here. I love our true crime community. So does Atlas. I know he hasn't moved almost the whole time we've been broadcasting, but like I said, he loves the naps in the studio. I'm Ashleigh Banfield, and remember, the truth isn't just serious, it's drop dead serious.